The Brooklyn Nets are up. Okay, so the Brooklyn Nets offseason comes down to one very simple question. Are you star hunting or are you trying to like rebuild, right? We know the answer to that question. They're star hunting. They're going to try and go get like a dude, right? In terms of what they have on the roster, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson feel like they're two guys that they're building around. 3 years and 2 years left on that deal. $48 million for 2 years for Mikal Bridges. 3 years, $68 million for Cam Johnson. They have Dorian Finney-Smith, another guy that can come in and be like a useful player on a team that has a star. Ben Simmons is now on an expiring contract, which makes it easier for you to be able to move him to facilitate a star trade. The big question is just who you chasing.
I don't know.
I think there's no team in the league that is hoping that the Cavs like bomb out of the playoffs.
Yeah, they have to be praying for that, right? That's a lose in the first round, and at the end of the day, it has to be. This team has to get an on-ball primary creator, initiator, however you want to say it. Like, I don't even want to call it a point guard. They have to get somebody that can pressure the defense with the ball in his hands. That has to be priority one. And if you can get a big name, great. If not, you still have to get somebody that does it to an extent to make this thing a little bit more workable next season. But yeah, like I wouldn't be going for anything else other than that. So if it's Donovan Mitchell, I don't know. I guess I can't think of any other names off the top of my head of the competitors that
I mean, like DeJounte Murray. Like,
we've talked about Murray.
If you want to call him that, like, there are names that you can look at, and this team like has real draft capital from having moved Kyrie and Kevin Durant, even though they don't have their own draft capital. That is currently with the Houston Rockets. Look, like there are teams that could bomb out of the playoffs, right? Like we don't know what Milwaukee will look like if they lose in the first round, right? Something crazy could happen there. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying like possibilities exist for these things, right? Like Jimmy Butler probably will want an extension coming up here, right? If Miami somehow bombs out of the playoffs and they're like, well, like we don't know what the future of this team is. Like who the hell knows? Who the hell knows what that looks like? And again, I'm not saying that like Jimmy Butler is going to like demand a trade and like do all this stuff, but like the point is that these possibilities, you don't find them out really until they happen and until the playoffs like really tell us everything that we're going to need to know about the situation. So with Brooklyn, it's hard to do an off-season preview for them until we know like who's actually available. I just like don't, where I want to take this is this. If you were Brooklyn, would you be so set on star hunting? Do you think it's like actually a worthwhile endeavor for them with Bridges, Johnson, Finney-Smith? You re-sign Nick Claxton, maybe, like we'll talk about that in a second, and like hope that your vets like make it work.
I mean, I still feel like they're a little bit like, I'm still not sure. So what? Donovan Mitchell, Mikal Bridges, Claxton, Cam. I'm still not sure where that roster gets me. Like, I'm still not sure how high, even in the Eastern Conference, that roster gets me. Like, I know they don't.
So you jump Cleveland automatically. Let's say it's Mitchell, right? You jump Cleveland because you're taking Mitchell and putting him on your team, right? Is a team with Mitchell, Mikal Bridges, Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton better than Orlando, what they will be next season after a year of growth from Paulo Franz and Jalen Suggs?
I would say my gut says yes, but that's with not knowing what Orlando would do this summer. Like, I think Orlando would need more than internal growth.
I'm not really even sure that they would,
to
be honest. Is that team better than a healthy operational Knicks team?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Is that team better than like a Pacers with Halliburton and Siakam, and then like
full year,
Rick Carlisle, and they have actual chemistry as opposed to doing it in season?
Probably not.
Is that team better than the Miami Heat? Does that team have a better chance to win a playoff series than the Miami Heat?
I love how we talk about the Miami Heat. This is such a credit to Spo and the Heat culture. And like, I was watching that game against the Sixers, like, man, Haywood Highsmith is good. Like, it's just like, it's always somebody. But like, they win more games than them in the regular season. I'd feel pretty confident about saying that.
Yeah. And then like you start to really go down, like the 76ers with Joel Embiid, if Joel's healthy, like they don't win more games than that team.
No.
Do any of these teams in the East take a jump? Like probably not beyond that. But like you're talking about best case scenario, probably like a 4 seed, right?
So here's what I always like to like. I don't always have the foresight for this. So I guess my question is, how else do you build it out then, right? Because whatever you take the assets you have to go get Donovan Mitchell. Okay, now you have what we're talking about. If somebody could show me, okay, this is the first move, but then here's the second move. Like, here's the next thing that's going to happen where we're going to put a second star next to these guys. Bridges is actually going to end up being the best third option, third guy in the NBA. And we have Donovan and this other dude. Now I'm super intrigued. Now I'm like, let's do it. If you can show me that plan and the path to that, cool. Let's do it. I'm all in. I don't know that I'm up for Donovan Mitchell. Mikal's the second option. Cam's still playing a bigger role than what I think he needs to be, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so next question here. If star hunting this summer fails, at what point do you feel like you have to bail because Mikal Bridges has 2 years left on his contract? And the whole thing here is that we're building around Mikal Bridges as the second or third star whenever he has this bargain basement contract for what he is.
Insane contract. Yeah. I mean, so if you strike out, is that the time to do it? Like, do you go and go ahead and make that move? I'm not sure what my appetite is. Like we've talked about Josh Giddey to the Nets, right? Like if the Thunder thing doesn't work out, and again, like he's been shooting the ball well for them, like, is it Josh Giddey? And that's obviously not Donovan Mitchell or DeJounte Murray, but maybe a guy that can play with the ball in his hands and pressure the defense and break it down and, have insane versatility with the size you have there. But again, like that doesn't like solve the problem long-term. Like that doesn't, like you're in the play-in game with that roster. So is that even worth it? Like it sounds crazy to go from, hey, it's either DeJounte Murray, Donovan Mitchell, et cetera, or we just go full rebuild. But to me, that's kind of the way it feels. You can't go back next season with the same roster, Sam. Like, I don't think that seems crazy to me.
But what if you miss on everybody? Like you might miss on everybody because you don't have the best deal for you don't have the most assets to be able to make a trade.
You're just going to waste another
deal. But that's the thing. That's why to me their move is to move Mikal Bridges, but it's almost not worth talking about that right now because they've been so steadfast against it at this point. Like, I don't know about like the Rockets offer. I've heard like the Jalen Green idea and everything. I don't even know. Like, I don't know how much of that's true, not true. I don't like, I find it a little bit difficult to believe that the Rockets put like multiple of those Nets picks on the table for Mikal Bridges, given how valuable those Nets picks project to be long-term. But like, it's hard for me to look at this any other way than like Memphis would move a lot for Mikal Bridges, I feel like.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
That'd be amazing, right? Like a team that needs a wing that can like be a stopper, create shots different ways. Like they probably give up a lot for Mikal Bridges, right?
That would be so fun. Yeah, that would be.
Oklahoma City, like that's a team that could be really fun for Mikal Bridges. Just look all throughout the league. Like every team could use him. Every team can afford him because his contract's pretty cheap. Like, God, like, can you imagine like Milwaukee, like finding spare change in the couch to be able to do this? They don't have the assets, but like,
no, they do not.
Yeah. Like there are ways that you could find to do this. Like the Knicks, if you're going cross town,
they
would present an offer.
Go put him on the Sixers and you have Maxey, Bridges, and Embiid. Like that would be a lot of
fun.
Kidding
me? That'd be great. So, I look at all this and I just think that that's the move for them to make, is to move Mikal and restart. It's really hard to restart when you don't have your own picks. I get why they would be hesitant to do that. But man, it just feels like they're going nowhere if they miss on a star this summer, which is why they really have to connect with somebody.
Well, and the thing is, and you brought this up, I just want to reiterate it. Mikal's trade value is only going to decrease. And I'm not saying it's going to decrease a lot, but eventually a team, if you holding on to him for another year, and then now he's an expiring, and I know he's not actually an expiring, but that other team is going to go like, hey, we have to negotiate this new contract with him where it's no longer one of the best valued contracts in the NBA. Like, it's just not as valuable. Right now, if you did it this offseason, a team's going to go, hey, we get 2 years of the best third option in the NBA on an insane value. Yeah, it's worth giving up real assets for that.
And they would have serious draft capital at that point. They would be able to do a lot of different things, in my opinion. The next questions here are, look, Cam Thomas is doing it again. It's March. So Cam Thomas is averaging 26.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3.8 assists while shooting 46, 36, 87. We don't really care about these Cam Thomas buckets, right?
I mean, the best thing about it, Cam Thomas is the leading scorer on the Brooklyn Nets this year. I mean, the thing is, they actually kind of need it because of all the stuff we've talked about. And I realize they're still not any good, but it actually makes sense on this team because they need what he does to function properly, because these other guys, quite frankly, Sam, they're not this. These highlights you're playing right now, these other guys aren't this. And so, good for him. Go take advantage of the opportunity and go get buckets.
Yeah. I still don't really think a team can win with Cam Thomas as like a primary option. He's not good enough defensively, not good enough as a passer. Just a lot of reasons why I think that'd be a problem. Nick Claxton is the other big kind of decision here, in my opinion, where, okay, so like, let's say we get a star. Nick Claxton makes a lot more sense next to a star. Let's say we don't. We're the Nets, we end up with like Nick Claxton on like a 5-year, $120 million deal, whatever it's going to be, for 100. I'm just like spitballing numbers here, right? At some level, but like, say that that's what it is. What do you do?
I would be uncomfortable letting him just leave for nothing.
I think you can't let him leave for nothing. I agree with you.
My hope would be you get him on a quality contract where if you end up selling on Bridges and missing out on all this stuff, one, he's not a bad player to have around either way. But he's on a contract that you can move if you need to, if you need to do that as well. So that I don't think you just let Nick Claxton walk.
I think you also don't let Nick Claxton walk. I think if you can re-sign him, you do it. But Nick Claxton is an unrestricted free agent and you don't have control over this, right? You don't know how this is going to go. You don't know what direction this is going to end up. Last year of the Ben Simmons deal, is that tradable? Dorian Finney-Smith, obviously, very tradable contract, 2 years, $30 million. Look, at the end of the day, like what I would do and what the Nets are going to do is just so drastically different that it's almost like worth kind of moving forward and not continuing to talk about this. I would move Bridges. I would move Finney-Smith. I would, take my lumps here, try to build up Cam Thomas's trade value, move him and go from there. Like that's where I'm at on them, but they're going to do something different. They're going to try and get Donovan Mitchell or someone like that.
Yep.
Okay.